Hi everyone, I'm Kaluka. So it finally happened, it's patch day, and because it's patch day, it's time for everybody to make basically meaningless educated guessing about how good all of the things included in the patch are going to be. And I of course am no exception, however I will be dividing the various additions to the game into multiple videos because that's just kind of how YouTube works. And in this video we will be starting with Ash, who in a very controversial opinion of mine, is not that good. Now that isn't to say that she's bad or anything, I think she's actually pretty good, she's just not that good. In this video we'll be discussing Ash both in ranked and in comp, because these are very different things. And I think in ranked and in levels of play below that, she's actually going to be quite good, and then in comp she'll be fine. She might be a fringe pick. But let's start with actually talking about her, and to do so, we'll start with talking about her passive. I'll say that so far, Ash's passive is the one thing that has pleasantly surprised me more than anything else. Now, I'll be clear in saying that the part where she actually tracks someone who just killed another team I don't think is that useful. Though the ping is quite nice. However, the part where she can just see people who died on the map, that part is quite good. At least, depending on where you're playing. Now, I don't think this will be particularly useful in comp. I think teams in comp are typically more aware and know more about what teams are around them. And I really don't think the ability to actually mark the killers of another team in comp is actually going to be valuable at all. I think it's very situational that a team is going to just happen to be by a box that someone else killed that they don't know the location of, and its animation is woefully long. But the part where she just sees people who die on the map is awful, and I can already tell this is going to just ruin ranked for probably a long time. Obviously it becomes less bad the fewer ashes there are being played, so right now it just feels terrible, but I can already tell this is just going to be terribly annoying. Third partying is already not particularly fun outside of the higher levels of play. At least at the higher levels of play there's more consideration that goes into third partying. More teams are typically a lot closer together the further you are in the match, and they're also a lot better at the game, so mistakes are punished a lot more heavily. In higher levels of play, third partying requires a lot more consideration. You have to think about where your team is going to be after the third party, and whether or not you can successfully take it in the first place. If you get fought off a third party, or if you're weak after you third party somebody, you're just going to get fourth partied or punished by other teams. So I don't think Ash's ability to allow people to just run around and grief people is really going to be that strong in comp. It's just not that strong of a strategy there. However, because ranked and unranked are a lot more lax in their punishing, I have a feeling she's going to be very annoying, especially early on, as long as she's new in ranked play. What's going to be sort of more annoying is that if you don't have an Ash, then you're also aware that everybody else can see you, and you don't also have that luxury. It's kind of like having a caustic in a way. Everybody else can hit you with gas, but you can't hit them back. So for a while, I think she's going to be very annoying. And I think even after that, killing somebody and then getting third party by Ash will always be something that is just sort of irritating. I also think that she should definitely have like a range to this ability, but I also don't foresee it actually getting any nerfs, so we'll see what really happens with it. I think the only thing this passive is actually going to do is it's going to make edge fighting in comp a lot better. That's kind of the only thing I foresee Ash actually being able to do, is to give teams who want to just run around on the edge of the ring and fight people for better positions and kill points better utility to actually do so. Currently those teams are kind of running around with like Fuse, sometimes like Horizon, and those characters, Horizon much less so than Fuse, are not necessarily competitively viable. I mean, I guess, you know, if somebody wins with it, it's competitively viable, but so far I don't think a Horizon team has actually done much in ALGS. I think Ash's ability to tether people, which also we'll talk about, and the fact that she can run around and find fights that are beneficial for her team make her a much better edge fighter than pretty much anything else. In fact, I think Ash as a whole package is very strange in that she gets a lot better the worse the lobby is, more so than other characters. Like a character like Caustic I think is good pretty much no matter what level of play you're at. Pretty much anybody can just throw a Caustic gas and that's kinda it. But Ash gets like supremely better the less she's punished for doing what she does. And speaking of things that get better the worse your opponents are, let's talk about the tether. So the tether is a very strange ability. I so far like that it does 20 damage, that is quite nice. This pretty much puts Knuckle Cluster into retirement because I don't know why Knuckle Cluster is even a consideration anymore unless doors are really a problem for you. I mean, yeah, he denies area and all that, but we'll get into a Fuse video another time. The only thing about the tether I'm not quite as excited about is the fact that the area you're tethered to is quite large. I think for the most part, most pros are going to find that the area they're tethered in is not really that hard to work around. Usually pro teams are all huddled up into one spot. They don't typically have a long range that they can play around because they just can't defend that much area. It's definitely not uncommon for like 2 or 3 teams to be huddled around a big piece of cover that they don't really want to fight each other over. And I think overall the tether gives you enough space to work with if you're a decent player. I don't think, even even in a hectic firefight, it's going to do that much. The damage is nice, and making it so people can't chase you could be good, but again, I think this gets a lot better the worse the lobby is. When you're in these more frantic, like 3v3s that you get in ranked or in unranked play, being able to tether somebody to a single spot can be quite beneficial, and considering they're overall going to be a much worse player, outside of like, pred lobbies or whatever, they're not going to work with the space they have as well as players who are better than they are, so this is a genuine limitation that they have to work around. Plus, it deals 20 damage to shields, which is quite nice. Again, I think this is mostly just an edge fighting thing. You try to catch somebody after they just killed another team, maybe catch out one of their players who's looting a death box or something, and then kill them on that box. Still, I don't think this is going to be like a supremely powerful ability. Now, in fairness, this is also only day 1, or maybe day 2 by the time this video comes out, so maybe it's good at things we're not aware of yet. Maybe when a team Valk ults into an area you're already holding and then you just fling it at somebody, you could get a kill. I just don't think that this is an extremely powerful ability. It is quite good at exacerbating bad situations. For example, catching somebody out while they're rotating or while they're out of position can be quite strong with this. It just doesn't do enough on its own to make me think that it's going to be incredibly powerful. It isn't like Bubble, which creates a really good situation for your team, and it's not like Caustic, who just creates an near unavoidable bad situation for the enemy. If somebody's in a good spot, this makes it a little bit worse, and if they're in a bad spot, it makes it a lot worse, but the thing about being in a bad spot is that you're already in a bad spot. That's not really when you need to strike at your enemy. That's when they're already probably killable. And finally, we have the ultimate. Now, the ultimate is probably one of the more exciting things about this character, and I think this is what really solidifies her as an edge-fighting character. Ashe's portal thing is quite interesting. It allows her to take herself and her team a short distance without being able to be damaged, teleporting to another area. Now, for incredibly short rotations or jumping on another team, this could be quite good. It can also be equally good for getting out of a bad situation, and the reason this allows her to be more of an edge fighter is it basically allows her to sit in one piece of cover with her team and then to just deploy onto the next one after they get some kind of advantage. Maybe they get a really nice grenade or something and then they can just port into the enemy without being shot by all the other teams. It's quite similar to Octane, and frankly I'm not really sure what benefit Octane's ultimate has over hers. His ultimate does go a bit further, but just the ability to not be shot when you're coming in, kind of important. Now of course, Ashe's ultimate does deploy the entire team onto one very predictable spot, and also Octane still has his notoriously low cooldown, but he's got a lot of competition now. Now I will say that overall I think Ashe's portal is substantially worse than Wraith's. Just the fact that Wraith can go back through her portal in case the portal turns out not to be a good one is kind of huge. Wraith is also better at being able to see ahead of where she's going to portal and to kind of scout whether or not it's going to end up in a good place than Ashe is. Ashe just kind of has to send it. But Ashe being able to send it is a strength in and of itself. Ashe hits one button and the whole team is starting to portal, whereas Wraith has to go and actually walk to the exit of the portal and then the team can take it. I think overall as an exit this is going to be very strong, just not being able to be shot while you're leaving is quite nice, and it is quite convenient, though I think overall a bit weaker than Wraith. However, that's about the last thing I have to say about this character, so we'll wrap up. I think overall Ashe is not necessarily unexciting. I think she's a cool character, it's just I don't foresee her being a particularly strong one. I think she has a pretty strong future as probably a fringe pick for edge fighting teams, but beyond that I'm not particularly sure she'll be good at much. Now, it is entirely possible I could be wrong. It is again day 1 or day 2 depending on when I get this video done, but I also don't necessarily foresee her becoming some kind of revolutionary character like Valkyrie. She's basically good at one thing, and at that one thing, she's pretty good at it. Her passive allows her to hunt down another team on the edge that just fought. She can then tether somebody who's out of position, and if things go bad, she can use her ult to get the whole team away, or she can use it to get it in. Which is a sentence I hope I never have to say about Ashe again. Anyway, I don't think this character is going to make a gigantic splash. I think she has a fairly healthy future as a fringe pick. However, that's about all I have to say on the subject. Thank you guys for watching. Join me next time when we talk about the car SMG. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe because I'll be making more of them in the future. I also have a video about the Kraber and its competitiveness in Apex Legends at its highest level, and some of the solutions we can take to fix it. However, aside from that, I'm pretty much done with this video, so I will see you guys next time when we're talking about the car. Have a pleasant one.